All right, well, welcome to our podcast number 2. I'm going to turn myself down a little bit. I noticed last time I was like the loudest fucking guy. Just like son of a bitch. All right, anyways, podcast number 2. This month we're talking about original PlayStation games. Our top 10. We got a top 10 list for RPGs on the PlayStation 1 or original PlayStation. And our other topic this month is the Final Fantasy VII remake. One of the things we wanted to visit last time we were talking was that and kind of do a little thing on it. So we got a couple new guys this time because not all of us. I'm actually going to take a back seat here for the most part because not all of us were big PlayStation guys. So we brought in a friend of ours, Chris, and another friend of ours, Matt. Which Matt
Hello.
is Samus,
What up?
and Chris is this blonde guy who likes long walks on the beach. So
I think that's Naruto.
Hey, hey, hey! Don't hit me with that disrespect. I'm saying to Gohan.
anyway, so we're gonna talk about some games today, about our favorites from the PlayStation One era, RPGs specifically, and kind of go from there. So uh, we want to just get right into the list, boys.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
let's
what
do
Yeah,
it.
that's cool.
started at
So,
number 10.
All right, so we're gonna start at number 10. I don't know who our biggest advocate for this one is, but I'm gonna start off with Matt because I believe he
It
was
was
the.
number 2 on my personal
All
list.
right, yeah. So
That's the only reason it's on this list right now.
This sounds like compromise to me.
yeah, they ended up having to compromise. So, uh,
Well, let me drop some knowledge.
so first of all, obviously, number 10 is Vagrant Story. That's
Yeah,
our
Vagrant
number
Story.
10. So go ahead, Matt.
This game, it screams production value from the PlayStation era. Like, it didn't get better than that. Sound, video, or graphics, story, music. It had it all. This was part of the developer Yasumi Matsuno. He's the guy who came up with the Ivalice storylines for Square. That includes like Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy 12. Well, it's mostly the Tactics series, but this was kind of a spin-off of that in the same universe. So it's got these really great cinematic cutscenes with comic book style dialogue and as you're seeing on screen, super unique combat system. Is like a sphere-based thing where you can pick body parts, similar to Parasite Eve if anybody's played that. Only a bit more intricate. So yeah, to me it did everything as well as you'd want from a PlayStation game.
So
It's a tactical RPG, right? Did you say that?
I mean, in a sense, it's pseudo real time. It's tactical in the sense that you do position yourself, and that kind of depends on what you can reach and if the enemies can reach you, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's got because like as you're walking around, you just basically can stop at any point and attack. But the more you attack in that game, the higher there's a bar called risk, which is basically the more actions you do consecutively, your risk goes up, and it makes it where things are harder to pull off, like your accuracy goes down and stuff. Essentially, to make you rest in a way, like you got to basically you can't just keep pressing buttons and attacking, otherwise you start missing more often, and your attacks they cost more to cast, I think, like stuff like that.
Well,
like just
you can combo them, but as you combo them, that risk meter's filling up, which is
right.
it's gonna make you miss more. It'll cause you to take more damage. So risk is a very apt sort of meter
So
for that.
what about this game really connected with you so that you put it so high as number 2? I know it's 10 on our list, but you said it was number 2 for yours. Was there
For
a
me-
story moment or a character?
I mean, the story overall it's what I consider the best part about the game. It's very mature in that, it's not your typical save the earth kind of RPG
Which is
story.
a big plus in that generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
Huge.
political in nature, which is it's kind of the way this guy's games go, about warring factions and things like that. And there's definitely some supernatural elements to it, and it just all fit together super well.
Yeah. Characters real likable as well, and I thought the cool thing about this game is the challenge stays consistent, because what they do is when you fight, or like basically you don't level up at all you can master abilities and your weapons. Like basically becomes you're more proficient with them based on what you're killing. So like if you're fighting a bunch of humans, your spear might be better against killing humans, stuff like that. But the best thing is what they do is they make it where when you fight a boss and you kill him, you're basically there's a roulette for your level. Like you're kind of basically it's based on luck what you're gonna get. So like sometimes if you kill the boss and when you kill it, you get a +3 strength or something, or +5 magic and stuff like that. So it makes it where you're not too powerful. You basically can't just grind and kill things real fast. So every boss is challenging the whole way through, which I mean, the game is challenging. That's one of the better things about that game.
Now,
Yep.
now you guys said it's from Yasumi Matsuno, right?
Yes.
The Final Fantasy Tactics guy. Now you said it was sort of a spin-off. Does it have any like direct links to the tactics in that tactics world, which if I remember is also the same world as 12, isn't it?
Yeah, it really does not have any direct links other than the fact it takes place in the world of Ivalice.
Oh, so
I mean-
but it does take place in the same world. That's kind of, that's kind of crazy.
Supposedly, I mean,
Supposedly.
I think it gets mentioned very briefly.
There are connections in the game, but they're small.
Yeah.
So, but if you ask, like they made a timeline on this game when they talked about it. He says it is in the world, but like it's pretty distant. It's not really directly. It is a spin-off, through and through.
Yeah.
So, but it's
And
it's a good game, and it was like the only game for because when Famitsu used to give reviews pretty harshly back in the day, which isn't the case anymore when Nintendogs got a 10 out of 10. But they gave this game a first score, and it had been the first time in I think since Ocarina of Time. It's been a long time since they'd given one, so that already it kind of came off with a really big bang, review wise in Japan, and it did pretty well. And like I said, Matt said, the best thing about this game is production value, and it's probably the best looking game on the system. And there's not many games that look as good as this. It can look a little choppy right now, but as we go through our other videos and stuff for 3D, I mean, it doesn't look better than this. I don't think so.
Yep. We'll move on soon, but I cannot recommend this game enough.
I was just going to talk about how good his hair looks up sticking up on both sides. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
it's like a bug master over there or something.
Oh yeah, it's not a JRPG without crazy hair.
I don't think you can have a Japanese anything without crazy hair. Or something.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah,
So how many of you guys have played this, by the way, that have actually played this? Matt, I know obviously you have.
Yep.
I have as well.
Nagona? No, Ron? Nothing?
Yeah, no.
I wonder
I,
if Chris has. I
I'm
wonder
aware
if he's still
of-
here.
I've
Chris?
seen the box art.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it.
Okay.
I stared at it longingly in the store.
So, Matt, I'm pretty certain I might have played this on my Vita a short amount of time. Now, I don't think I ever beat it, but I do recognize the main character, especially
Okay.
with those sweet antlers for hair. By the way, if you are interested in playing Vagrant Story, it is on the PlayStation Store for $5.99 right now. So
Yep.
you can still pick it up. It looks like it's limited to PS3, PSP, and Vita, but I don't know. I don't know if it's compatible with PS4 unless it says. Is that how that
No,
works?
unless it
No.
says it is, it's,
Yeah, so you have to have an older system or the Vita. So
to
but-
be honest, the PSP is a cheap gold mine for old RPGs. If you want to play old RPGs, they're like $60 now. You can find them, and you can get almost everything on it. So
cool.
Yeah.
Hey, there's the thing right now. At least for me, because I can see it. It's doing the little spinny
The
bonus.
stats?
Yeah,
Yeah.
bonus thing you were talking about.
So it's like you could get a few points of HP, MP, intelligence, strength.
cool.
It's just whatever you land on.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Very, very interesting. So, and the numbers get higher as you get further on. Like it's not just like one intelligence. Like this poor sap
Forever.
just got right here. So
Awesome.
Alrighty.
All right, I think
Number
our
nine.
number 9 was Breath of Fire 4.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
Is that right?
Made it. It
it
made
made
the
it.
cut.
Yep,
That's
All
the
it
right.
one.
made the cut.
Breath of Fire 4. All right, who wants to start that one up?
Let's hear from Taylor or Ron. I want to hear
All
what
right.
he's got to say about it.
So a little backstory. I didn't even play a JRPG until the PS1, and this was like the first one I ever played, not including Super Mario RPG, because that was a little different. It's got some Nintendo flavor in it. But Breath of Fire 4 was really my first association with that genre, and I think I can't really go into the real specs like you guys can, because you can compare all these great RPGs to each other, and I can't really do that. But I will say that I think that the music was the first thing I noticed about it, and how I can even recognize some of the themes today, which is pretty surprising. And I think that the pacing in it as well was just really good, because I was probably 10 or 11 at the time, and I had a lot of other games that I could play, and these were really long. I wasn't used to playing like 60-hour games. I was used to playing like Frogger and stuff like that. So a game like this that could hold your attention and kind of engage you in the grind, and it did so well about characters would come in and then they would leave, and you didn't just have like the same static party the whole time, and then it would switch and you'd play the villain of the game, which I struck me as being really unique, and I've still rarely seen it to this day.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, it was probably the first game I played that had like two different endings, where you had to make a big choice at the end, and you basically got two separate ones. Granted, Frogger wasn't going to have multiple endings. So this was a big deal to me when I saw it. And but if you guys have anything else,
Yeah, well, the big thing about this game that was pretty interesting is like Breath of Fire's always kind of been, known as the traditional RPGs. That they're all turn-based, 3 or 4 characters per party, nothing real special. But this game was cool because what it did is it let you switch out characters in the middle of battle. So you could basically, if you want to use a healer, like I don't like using healers most of the game unless I have to. So I'll just use my 3 fighters in every fight. And then when you fight a boss, I switch out the healer. I put in the magic user, stuff like that. And then, the other thing about this game is you can do combos, like you can cast fire with one character, then like earth with another character, and they'll do a special spell together. And based on where you put them in, like if they're the second person in turn, it always go you can make it where whoever's first in line goes first. So you can really customize, like you want the person to heal after everyone's turn, you can make it where she goes last and then she can heal. So it's pretty strategic in that way. And the other thing that's cool about this game I liked is the main character really isn't the main character most of the game. The story's kind of based on Nina and Cray, which are other characters. They're in your party, but the Ryu's not really the focus till the very end. Like you kind of get ideas that he's important because, like you said, the villain is a dragon as well as he is and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. But again, you don't really know that he's actually the main character. They don't make it sound like he is. Obviously he is, but he's not the character that the story's based on. It's based on the other characters like Cray and stuff till the very end, which is really cool. I thought that was unique because most games don't do that. So
yeah, and 2 other points about it to kind of follow up on that. I feel like every character was pretty unique. Like none of them are really cliche. I guess you could say Ryu is pretty typical because he's in all the games. He doesn't ever really talk. But all the other characters, they didn't really have an archetype that I saw in other RPGs. And
you have a tall dog in your party, so.
Yep. And a crazy like trash can robot, and all kinds of things. And the other go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'll ask
the last point I was going to make is the whole idea of being able to have your whole party in combat at the same time. That was part of the reason why I was able to play it for so long, and the pacing was so sharp, because I'm constantly torn in RPGs when I have like 7 party members and I have to only choose 3. And what I end up doing is I just get tunnel vision, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to level these 3 up and just finish the game with them. But Breath of Fire was really cool because you got to experience the whole party.
Yeah.
Go on. That was the question I was asking. You say you could put the whole party in there, and Nakona was saying you could swap out party members at the very end, like you go with normally your like 3 fighters, and then the boss fight you'd swap people out. How did XP work? Did it work across the party, or did you have to grind a lot, or how's that?
No, it was pretty steady. Like I never had to grind that game. It was pretty steady. Like you get most of your experience from boss fights and stuff, but it was never too bad where you got like a big influx of, or you need to level up. Like no boss was that hard. Most of the bosses you can beat by just being, I guess like playing things out better. Hitting their weakness, stuff like that.
And like, I think everybody got experience in the battle, right? Even if they didn't fight. Or
yeah, they
were
right.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
So you never had trouble like you were saying, Nakona, where you just had all your fighters up front. You never had trouble with them like out leveling the rest of your group and having to go back.
Because technically everyone's in battle essentially. Just that's who I was using at the time. Like I said, but if something bad happened, I could just switch out whenever I wanted to. Someone else. Like I always had the character with the gun who hits everybody in the party, and then I use the guy that's like the slow heavy attacker, and then the main character. That's always who I use in fights. And then just boss fights came up, I'd switch out characters to get other characters in there. So it's pretty cool.
And that's kind of ahead of its time too, because I remember even in 10 years later, Final Fantasy 10, that I would have to constantly get in like Kamari to take a hit from something and then pull him back out of the party so he'd get experience for that fight.
Yep.
And I never had to do that in Breath of Fire, and that was.
No, that's a nice mechanic. Like that's a nice thing to see, especially in an earlier game like that. Where they're not punishing you for not having everyone always in there and doing stuff.
So it's probably just the old school craze that goes on nowadays, but I really like the graphics in this. Actually, more so than 3D, obviously. But
I was gonna say
it's
that
really good. I like the way they're made.
A lot of the games on our list you're gonna find kind of have a combination of 2D, 3D graphics, and I don't think any other game on this list did it as well as this game. Like,
Yep.
it's seamless how well the colors meld together, and it just looks fantastic. It's a
good.
beautiful game.
Even as 3D, it kind of still has that pixel feel to it. So
Hmm.
Yeah, it definitely it looks good for a 2D 3D mix because like it came out late though, but again, like I said, it was still a really good looking game. So the art design is way different than most games, I think, as well. So
That one's also available on the PlayStation Store. $6, $5.99.
It took its time though.
Yeah,
That thing.
well, it's out now, so no big deal. How many people had this on their list, by the way? This one had more than one, didn't it? Yeah,
Chris and Ron had it, and it was real close to mine. So
yeah, pretty good. Cool.
yeah, it's a good game.
All right, guys, let's move to number 8, which I believe was Lunar Silver Star Story. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, that name.
That's Matt. That's Matt.
It's super long too. Yeah, Superstar Story complete.
Well,
complete.
yeah.
My bad. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right,
Sorry.
mini history lesson. This is like the third version of this title. The first one was on Sega CD, I believe.
Yes.
And then
oh man,
what was the second one on? Because there's Lunar the Silver Star, Lunar
Lunar
Silver
Blue.
Star Story,
oh,
and then Lunar Silver Star Story Complete.
Yeah.
So this was like the final, badass version of the game.
it's,
Very traditional, kind of 2D JRPG, as far as the battle system goes and all stuff like that. Really not a lot to say on that end, but this game has heart out the ass.
One second. I just saw a move called Nipple Dancer or something. Nipple Yanker. What
Nipple
the hell?
Yanker, that's one of the enemies, yeah.
That is crazy.
So
I want to play this
probably
game just for that guy now.
The best aspect of this game
Nipple
is its sense of humor. Like, it's an anime kind of feel to it, but this game is localized so well. Working Designs did it back in the day when they did a handful of stuff in that era, and they were just one of the best localization groups. As far as voice acting, humor, they made jokes that made sense to American audiences. It wasn't just like straight up translations. And I mean, you're looking at the battle. There's not a lot remarkable stuff going on there. Not to say it's not fun.
This seems more typical, obviously, of the RPG. Yeah.
It's engaging. Like, your characters don't just stand there. That where they are on the battlefield does actually matter because they have to move to get to the enemies and vice versa. So there's a little variety there. But yeah, the best parts about this game were the characters, the story, and the sense of humor.
And then the enemies look unique. At least some of these weird guys floating on like goblin heads and stuff. That's unique to me.
One of the big things about this game is it was the first game I think that one of the big first projects that a company called Working Designs did, which basically one guy I think created it to basically make all these games, these obscure RPGs come out, and he got a whole team to do a lot of translations and stuff, and he kind of undertook like kind of obscure projects, kind of like what XC does now. If you ask me, like takes out like kind of random RPGs and they spend a lot of money on it and try to make it localized and stuff. But this game it retailed for like $20 more because it came with like a big box, had the soundtrack, had like a rebate for like a poster and a strategy guide. It had a bunch of cool stuff with it, like an art book if I remember right. It was a really big box. I remember like if you went to Best Buy, they had the little locks on it. It was like crushing the box. I was like, oh, that's cool. But it was pretty cool because like I said, it was it's real traditional like Matt said, but like I said, the characters are really memorable. The dialogue is really well written for the time, which I think was a big problem with a lot of PSN games, or PlayStation 1 games, not just RPGs, but like, Resident Evil, anything you can talk about, like Crash Bandicoot. Those games weren't really well written, but this game was really well written. And not only just the characters, but like the NPCs in town had like 4 things to say per time you talk to them. Then if you leave and go back to like later in the game, they'll say new things. Like it was a lot of dialogue in that game. So you can tell there's a lot of work put into it. And, it was like one of my first games I played on the system. I really was really excited about it because they marketed it real well. But I don't know. I think if you like just real traditional RPGs with like really good stories and memorable characters, like that was the one thing that stood out. Like it doesn't do a lot of things different. It doesn't do a lot of things like real special. It's just a really well made RPG. Like it's kind of like heart of the genre. Like that's kind of what you expect in RPG, and it's a good version of it. So
yeah, and I think that goes back to saying what Matt said earlier that the game has a lot of heart in it. So it looks like with what you're describing, they took a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, it's really well done. Like I said, I suggest playing that. It's like one of the only games you can't get on the PSN for PlayStation, but you can download it. I think on PSP because they remade that game on PlayStation.
So they have the one on the store that I can find is called Lunar Silver Star Harmony.
yeah, it's the
that's
remake.
the remake
That's
for
the
PSP,
remake,
and
and it's for
it
PSP and PS Vita only.
Yeah.
But that's the only one I can find on their store. So if they have another one, I don't know where it is.
It looks better than this version. Like they have like the sprites are way bigger and stuff. So it's the same game. It's just a
Okay.
little bit fancier looking. So
yeah,
That's-
if the basicness of this PlayStation version puts anybody off, the PSP version definitely will hold up a little bit better.
Cool.
Yeah.
look at them dancing though. It's awesome.
That's like a $15 game on the PlayStation Store. It's a little bit more, but like you said, it's a remake, I guess. So
It's a remake.
Yeah.
So.
that's cool.
And there's a flying talking cat. So that's pretty cool.
I saw
He's
it
a
in the
dragon,
fights.
damn it.
It's a dragon. It looks kind of like a cat, but
It was a cat.
He claims
was
he's
a
a cat
dragon.
for a dragon.
It was a
time and-
Dragon cat.
No, it's a recurring joke in the game. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's a very cool character for not being like a fighter. He's awesome. So
Yeah.
You gotta love those wacky JRPG characters.
Yeah, of course. So number 7 was Valkyrie Profile. Yeah,
This should be good.
by
Chris,
Enix.
you had this on your list pretty high, right?
I did. It was like number 5, if I remember correctly.
All right, let's hear it. What makes it so special?
It's the combat system. What else? I mean, it's amazing. Every character is assigned to different buttons, so you can like combo each character differently. So you may have somebody that has like a short sword or something along those lines, and then you hit circle, then you hit square, and then you hit triangle, and then bam, you're doing this multi-combo hit, and then
yeah, that sounds cool.
it was just awesome. Like I had a lot of fun with that one, and then the story was good, and you're just I don't know. I really enjoyed the game a lot. It was definitely different, and I'm big on combat system. That'll keep me coming back for I don't know, God knows how long.
For sure.
Well,
I
the comments.
know-
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I know Nakona's gonna have a bunch to say about this game, so
Yeah,
just
it's
I'll
true.
get my little bit out of the way. The biggest thing that stood out to me about this game is the progression. I'd never played a game like this before that progressed. Like no JRPG did it like this, where the game's essentially kind of in chapters, but
Mhm.
it's based on you basically recruiting soldiers for the Ragnarok. It's,
Dead people,
Yeah.
people that have died.
It's a
So
pretty
you,
unique concept.
you go
Yeah.
see them in their final moments, and then you try to get them to join your army, basically.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Yeah. You force them. Not really. You don't really ask them because they're dead otherwise.
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
Yeah.
you're joining up or what?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you're dead or
this
not
game-
dead?
This game is weird because when you get in a fight for the first time, there's no HUD. It's like all there is like the enemies on the left, your character's on the right, and there's just your buttons are glowing. Like, what the hell? What's going on? So you press X, for example, and then your character starts attacking. Like, well, what's going on? So basically, it's really unique. Like Chris said, that these guys, the people that made it, they're called Trius, or the developers, and they're really well known for like the Star Ocean series and stuff. Games that have really good combat. It was weird because, like I said, all the buttons, like every time you have say your main character's on X, typically you press X, she'll attack, and then you're gonna do it again, and then like she'll kind of knock off in the air, and then your next character can like shoot a bow and hit him while they're in the air, and then knock him down and stuff. Then your guy can jump up and throw a spear at him and stuff. Like they all have different combos. You basically kind of have to work your way to find what best. Because if you get like a really good combo, you get to like your technique bar goes up to 100%. Then you can do your specials and stuff, which is really cool. So the combat's really really interesting. There's nothing like it. Because hopefully you like it because the game has a ton of combat. It's basically the whole game for them. I mean, there's the story stuff is like the beginning of the game where like you're doing you talk to people for like a sec, you see them die, and then that's it. You're going through these dungeons and leveling them up for the sole purpose of making them kind of battle hardened for the war, like Matt said. That's pretty much what you're doing. But the game is weird because like it doesn't really have it's got 3 endings, which it's really hard to get the good ending. You're basically gonna play that game like normal and you're gonna get the normal ending, but to get the good ending you kinda have to find all these subtle hints about what the character, what to do and when to do stuff. And then if you get it though, like I use a walkthrough for it. I don't really know how easy they make it other than that, but the ending was really worth it though. The end of the game was tied up all the loose ends because that game's real vague. Like you kind of get like an interest scene that has seemingly nothing to do with most things until you meet one of the characters. Like it's just really different in every way. The combat's different, the story, the way it's different. Like your characters flying around the world map from the very beginning, wherever you want, and like you get these good characters you party, and the whole point of them is to give them to the gods, and then you're like, okay, then they're not in your party anymore, so you have to start over with different characters. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the whole aspect of overkilling, which is that's different too, because in most games, hey, if you kill somebody, they're
You're
you know
done.
you may have that you killed them, but it wasn't maybe not that much, or you're like, oh, okay, cool. But like this game showed you, hey, you just went ham and then you killed them, but then you killed them even more. It's like you
Yeah.
beat them up while they're on the ground.
And when you overkill them, you're getting like they give you more experience. 'Cause, like if you some of these fights, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but like the little gems pop out, which make it easier to do combos. And there's like the experience crystals that come out, and you get more experience. Like they add them all up at the end of the fight, and the more overkill you've done, basically the more experience you get extra, which is really cool. So like it makes it worth it for just destroying one enemy at one, like instead of just killing everything in one turn, you know. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool how they did it. So
And kind of with what Nakona was saying about getting the endings and how hard it is to do, this game more than most gives you big incentive to actually get to know the characters in depth, because in order to send off the right characters, basically each chapter they ask for a certain kind of fighter or character, and so first you have to pay attention to what they want, but then as you learn these characters' backstories and start leveling them up and stuff, you really find out, you have to pay attention to, okay, what do they ask for, and then examine the characters in your party to make sure they fit the bill.
like a mage that knows like battle tactics, and like if you look at the skills right now, they're putting up like knows about monsters and or undead and stuff. So you got to level those skills up, and then they got to be like a fighter or an archer, whatever they're asking for. So that way, when they go to the place, like you're getting better, you get better rewards for basically giving them the right people. Like at the end of the chapter, like, oh, you did great. Here's all this stuff. It's like, okay, since you sent the right people off, we're gonna give you better stuff, which makes the game easier, which is very required towards the end because the game gets very hard. So,
Right.
but the last thing I think about this game that's worth noting is like since the game is a lot of fighting, which is a little off-putting for some people. Well, the cool thing is like every dungeon has their own like its own music, and they're all really unique. So like it's pretty awesome. Like the combat, as long as you can get into the combat, this game's pretty worth playing. And like I said, it's got a very long secret dungeon. So if you still want more, like that could take you real long to go through that secret dungeon, and it's very challenging. So I don't know. I definitely recommend it. Most people, I think it's kind of hard to find though, because I think it's only on the PSP, right?
Yeah, it's only on PSP. The remake was made on the PSP.
Because I don't think you can download it on PlayStation. Can you, David?
No, it's not on
I could not
PlayStation.
find it anywhere on the PlayStation Store, so that's one
It's
of those you
only
got to
on the
pick up
remake
the
for
physical
PSP.
copy. Yeah.
Yeah, for PSP. Hey, you have to pick up a PSP and the physical copy.
Yeah, both.
Yeah,
Or a PS1
Yeah.
copy, which is
Yeah, the PSP version is subtitled Lilith, which that's Valkyrie's name. So if
Yeah.
you see that, it's the same game.
anything else. I think that's pretty much the whole game.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Then number 6 is Final Fantasy 9. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
That's you. Is that you, Tron, or is that you, Bort? I know Bort loves this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that one's probably him.
All right, good talking, Matt. Let's go.
Well, this is the epitome of Final Fantasy, I should say. It brought the series back to its roots, and what I mean by that is after 7 and 8 were a little more sci-fi in nature. This definitely went back to the medieval style, and it didn't. It went back to 4-character battle system, which was cool, and it didn't try. Like it didn't go out of its way to be like too unique, I guess I should say. I was trying to find a better way to say that because it makes it sound bad, but it's really not. It makes the game more endearing in that it's not trying too hard to be something it's not. It had a unique ability system that basically you learn abilities from items by having them equipped a certain amount of time and things like that. And you use ability points to equip those after you learn them. So all that stuff was pretty basic, but it did everything you would want in a Final Fantasy game. It had a great cast of characters, all of them unique and memorable. Wonderful music, of course. Uematsu definitely at his best here. The graphics are amazing. Like a lot of people were put off by the kind of, I guess it's kind of a cheapy style of character. So it was a lot different than like the Tetsuya Nomura styles of Final Fantasy 7 and 8. But anybody that grew up playing Final Fantasy on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, I'm sure they appreciated this art style a lot more.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you have a love for being killed in one turn, the very last secret boss in this game will give you that pleasure.
Over and over again, huh?
Yes, this game had
Yes.
tough side quests.
Yeah, the Chocobo side quests are also real rough in this game too, which is interesting. But this, the big thing about this game I liked a lot is, yeah, some of my friends have called this game like they've compared to Shrek, is what I've been told. Like the way the characters look, like
Ugh,
they're way different than Cloud and Squall and stuff.
those
But
people are
like
dumb.
I think they're they're pretty endearing. I think the characters look pretty charming in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, the music's really good in this game. It's just it was a lot different than the last two that had come out. So to me, it was kind of a nice change of pace because I was kind of getting sick of 7 and 8. Not that I didn't like those games a lot, but those games were way different than what I was used to. And then I was like, okay, this is how Final Fantasy is going to be. I'm like, okay, good. No, it's not. It's going to be kind of like this. And it was kind of that's how it was marketed, like going back to its roots, stuff like that. That was like I think Square's marketing for it. But every character had its own class. Like you got a Dragoon in your party, you got a Knight, you got a White Mage, things like that, summoning. And then the FMVs were really good in this game too. They were way more frequent than the last couple ones, I thought, and they kind of
Mhm.
made the big moments like really stand out. Like especially towards the end of Disc 2, there's a really a ton of them like right after another, and they're really cool. So this game had like some really good side quests as well. Like I was saying earlier, they added a lot more to the game, and like I said, the secret boss is way harder than like Ruby Weapon or anything else from those other Final Fantasy games. I think they're just it's got its own challenge. Like I said, you kind of have to use you have to kind of plan for it. Like if you get killed, what you're going to get killed right away. You have to like really kind of reevaluate how you've been playing the game in general, which I think it was cool. Like it's way different than anything that you've done in that game. So
Yeah.
it was paced well, and then didn't really require not really too much grinding. There's like one part I thought was real difficult, but everything else I thought was pretty interesting. So lot easier. So,
And
but definitely worth playing. So I know don't get put off by if you want Squall and Cloud, great, play those games, but you should still give this a chance. Like I think the ending was excellent. A lot of the moments in this game are just as good as 7 8, if not better. So
yeah, I mean, it's cliche to say, but if anybody came to me that had never played a Final Fantasy and wanted to know which one to start with, I would absolutely point them towards this one.
Did it return most of the original like classic Final Fantasy classes? Like I knew there was a black mage and there's a white mage, and I think the main character's a thief.
Yeah.
But like the other ones like red mage and like
Not so much Red Mage. There was you have Thief, Knight, Black Mage, White Mage, Summoner, Monk, Blue Mage actually, and,
Oh, wow.
and Lancer.
my personal favorite. So it hit most of them then.
Yeah, and they're assigned to each character. Like it was a lot
Right.
like Final Fantasy 4
No
or
job
2,
switching.
2 on
Yeah,
the Super Nintendo if you played that.
definitely like 4. 4 is the best example of like it's real similar to that.
Yeah.
All right. So 9, by the way, can get on the store. What's nice about most of the Final Fantasy games, you can get them almost everywhere. But you can get it on the store. Also, it's coming out for PC, Android, and iOS early this year sometime. No specific
Oh,
date,
yeah.
but spring of this year. So pick that one up if you want to. It's $9.99 on the store right now. So cool. All right, guys. So then we got our number 5. Is that where we are?
Yes. Moving
Which
on.
is Final Fantasy 7.
This
Yeah.
is Jason's golden moment. Let's hear it, Jason.
That's- Jay,
This is
we only want Jason to talk on this one. No, we're just kidding.
this is my this is probably my favorite game on the PS1 total, and that's saying a lot because there's a lot of good games on the PS1. I guess the craziest thing is this was like it wasn't a launch title for the PS1, but it came out like that Christmas. It came out very shortly after, didn't it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong there, but it wasn't too long after the PS1 came out. I remember my brother bought a PS1 for this game,
And
and
me
like
both.
the marketing for it was amazing because it was like watching the marketing for a movie, like the trailers and everything you saw online and everything. It was crazy. I remember when we first got it, we didn't have a memory card, and we played it for like 15 hours without a memory card,
Oh,
like
geez.
not turning off the machine. Like we played it till we like could go to the store and get a memory card. It was a whole thing, but it's such a crazy game. I know it's a big departure from the other Final Fantasy VII, from the other Final Fantasy series. It's a huge departure. I mean, it's got all the same stuff there in one form or another, but like I love the science fantasy genre that it touches on. I love all the characters. It's really an amazing game. In a lot of ways, I think it's one of the more unique ones. Last time I had checked, it has the most crossovers of any other Final Fantasy games, and I think it's still one of the best selling, if not the best selling of them. So
That's
I mean,
why it
it's
took
clear-
so long to get a remake.
yeah, well, they were worried they were gonna not make money on it because people were gonna be pissed off. But I mean, clearly it's got a wide following, so it's kind of cliche to be like, oh, that's my favorite game, but it's definitely my favorite of the series, which is crazy because I love all the jobs and everything, and it doesn't have any of those. It's just such a great game, and the storyline is, like Matt said earlier, it's when he was talking about the other game, it's a fairly typical save the world storyline, but I love the characters, and it's got like kind of got a Shyamalan twist at the end. So you as a kid, I remember thinking that was amazing, but as an adult, you're like, it's a little. But I think it holds up. I played it again just a couple years ago. It's really fun. I love also. I think probably the best thing ever is while the job system from other Final Fantasy games is really great. The materia system is amazing. Like the combos you can come up with. I still remember the first time I heard you could put add effect and Hades together in a weapon, and you're just hitting people. And like if you like double cut people with like Cloud, you'll turn them into a frog, silence them, and like shrink them and everything. And then you'll hit them again and undo like half the effects. And it's so crazy. Like I just love the combos. Like that make combat so fun. Is just sitting there for hours trying to make better combos.
I think it's arguably the best ability system of any Final Fantasy in that your characters were 100% customizable.
They were. I mean, some people were a little bit better. Like obviously, like Eris had, healing.
Better magic. Yeah.
Well, and she had healing limit breaks. So you're like, oh, we kind of want to make her a healer, but you didn't have to by any means.
Right.
And I know like everything. It's just such a great game.
Yep.
I can't even like say enough. Like, I mean, if you haven't played it, obviously there's all the Final Fantasy games probably on this list you should play, but go play it. It's great. Also noted is one other thing is I love the backgrounds. They made a very bold choice, and I think they made the choice because they couldn't, the system wouldn't support the backgrounds they want to do, so they had all those hand-drawn backgrounds, all those hand-drawn static backgrounds. But I think they really help bridge like
I think
the
they're,
old and the new Final Fantasy gives them.
They're pre-rendered, aren't they?
Yeah,
Some of them
pre-rendered.
are, yeah, they're just really great. There's some I can't remember where it is. There's supposedly like some crazy different backgrounds in there, but I mean I love the backgrounds in some of the scenes. They're just really crazy. So.
What you say? That you only meant well, cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, cause it is. What you say? That it's just what we need, and you decided this. What you say? What did she say?
Yeah, let's just start with what's it's called to.
Suikoden 2.
What's it called?
We don't even know. Okay, that's great. All right, let me full screen it.
Oh, she's here. I say they all win something.
All right, well, I can do that probably. I'll swing that.
Everyone here is a trooper. My goodness.
I can't believe they all stayed. They were just like, I'm
Yeah,
going to bed.
They
Fuck
heard
this
that
shit.
part too, so it's not like they got it on mute.
By the way, they stayed because they wanted to curse me out.
Yeah, I mean that's what
I mean, that's good reason to stick around, personally, I think.
I literally can't uninstall XSplit without closing Skype.
Oh, really? It's like, no. You're using me right now. Clearly.
Well,
Okay.
you sound
He's
fine.
in the call,
so-
right? We just
Yeah.
can't do video.
Yeah, we're fine. No video for him this time. I'm going to put the XSplit thing in his slot, though. It's going to be great.
Make
The
it
word.
All right, guys, let's talk about it. Who is first? Who is first here?
Should we get in?
Yeah.
Suikoden.
Yeah, I can talk about it if you want. Okay, so I know Chris and I both have this on our list pretty high.
Real quick, this is number 3, right?
This is number 3. Yeah, we're at number
Yes.
3. Eventually, we're crawling to the end here.
Okay.
So we get into one of them. Like it was actually it came out kind of under the radar. I feel like it came out with I think 2000 or 2001. Like there's a barrage of like Chrono Cross came out that year. Breath of Fire 4, FF9, a bunch of stuff came out, and I think people kind of forgot about it real quick. But now it's really kind of well received and really kind of thought about fondly because it was probably the best game that came out that year if you ask me. But one of the better games for sure, and just because it had a really good core character to the characters that.
Whoa.
What?
Nothing.
Keep
He
going.
saw his big head on screen.
That you basically you start from the very beginning with them like right off the bat like something that's one thing. There's basically like they get ambushed and like the whole little unit they're in and the army gets killed and they survive and stuff and then they try to frame them for those kids for the main characters for like the reason why like they basically try to frame them for the death of the whole squad and then basically you have to end up going away from your hometown because they betrayed you, and then you start working for the other group, and then you basically, throughout the game, you're kind of becoming the leader of the army, through time because you're special based on your dad and stuff. But the big thing is the story's revolved around two countries that are that are fighting in the war, and you're starting with one, and you end up being the other. But the characters, they kind of end up kind of fading apart a little bit based on the story. And what's interesting about the game is, like I said, that the plot twists are all really good. They're really unique. There's I feel like I couldn't tell anything that was coming. Like I was really interested to find out what was going on, but when things did happen, I was really surprised. People kind of bring up like nowadays like the big comparisons like Game of Thrones and stuff because there's so much political stuff like the political overtone of the game. The betrayals and stuff. People kind of doing things for their own benefit, and the people that are honorable kind of getting the short end of the stick on a lot of situations in that game too. But the nice thing about that game, like I said, is it's got different endings. So when you go through the game, you're kind of like you're trying to just basically do everything you can. But if you get basically 100%, that's how you get the best ending. And the best ending is it's criminal not to see it because it's so worth it. Because the game is full of tragedy, and a lot of people die and stuff because you're recruiting up to 108 characters in that game, and they're all part of your army. But they all have a unique role. Like one character, you recruit the chef for like the castle. You recruit like the guy that controls the boat. You got to control the guy that gets food and like whatever. It sounds dumb.
You play as him?
No. Some in your party, they all have like unique weapons like spears, crap, or like. But a lot of them are there. Awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, you could use like 16 map, probably about 60 characters. Like most of them are playable.
Oh yeah.
Like the gardener, really the gardener's not playable. Like some of the other characters aren't. But the cool thing is like they have really cool mini games. Like when you recruit the cook, you can do like an Iron Chef mini game, which is super ripped off Iron Chef, which is awesome. There's you can recruit a detective. And he kind of tells you all the backstory for all the characters that you want to know about. It's a really overall a good package. Like there's so much to that game to like. It's a perfect length. Like it's not too long. I feel like there's not a ton of side quests. The game is just the side quests are basically recruiting the characters. And there's in that game it's real traditional RPG, but all the fights are real simple and fast, and you like basically level up every fight until you kind of at a certain cap. So like the leveling and the grinding is never in the way. It's just kind of like you just level up to like say 6, and then you're done leveling at that point. Like you don't get any experience anymore. So then you're capped in that way. The challenge stays pretty consistent, but never too hard. And you don't buy weapons and stuff. All you do is you spend money on upgrading their weapons, which is kind of cool. And then you have to recruit blacksmith to do that as well. And like I said, the music's really, really good in that game. Super memorable. If you look at a lot of people's list for RPG music on YouTube, it's on almost everyone's list, whether it be town music, battle music, stuff like that. And it's also got kind of like a specific like a strategy kind of aspect because it's turn-based, but there's when you're doing the fights with the wars, like in the countries, like are fighting each other, like with like big battles, it's a tactical-based RPG, and then you're like moving your characters in grids. And like your mage guys can attack far range and stuff, and you get to build your units like that. They all different. Like if you build a bunch of mages that have like a good guy on, like you can make them like a cavalry unit. If you put like the horse guy on there, and then 2 mages, so they're basically mages on horses and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's got it's a strategy light, I guess you could say. Yeah. But it's really cool for variety as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah, that game is, and then like he was saying though, you actually build up your own castle. So, like, you have your own little hideout, and you have to recruit everybody in there, and you can go talk to them during downtime and stuff. It's an amazing game.
And it bears repeating, 108 recruitable characters.
Yeah, it's
108. Unique characters.
Unique. There's 108 because they're all assigned like a star, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So there's 108 characters, and they all can be used, and they all can die.
And this game has also a one-on-one system. Basically, there's some fights that are really, really big fights. If you're fighting by yourself, like you're basically kind of dueling with somebody, and then you have chances. Like it's kind of like a rock paper scissors, where like they'll say something like "I'm gonna kill you" or something. Then if you defend, you can counterattack and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like a little small extra thing, but they're part of that whole series. But they're all really unique because like the big fights, like are always like that. So it kind of adds a little dramatic twist to them. And I don't know, I kind of like that. Like it's essentially another mini game. It's real small, but it makes like the big fights cool. So I don't know. I think it was worth playing. And like I said, 108 characters, like Matt said, and it's also probably got the best bad guy of any game I've ever played. Like the main villain he's crazy, and he's
Luca Blight. He's a crazy mofo.
The guy that fights right now on the stream. It's funny because without pulling too much, like he's the bad guy for the first half, and then it becomes the game again with the big plot twist changes drastically who you end up being is your big enemy. It's a really great game. So I suggest anybody likes RPGs, anyone likes good storylines, anyone likes good music and games, anyone that any of that stuff. Like this game has so much to offer. So
oh, and and then it kind of links to the first one. So it
Oh,
is a benefit.
definitely.
Yeah, it's a benefit to play the first one before you play the second one, for sure.
Yeah, that is the cool thing is all the Suikoden games, they do take place in the same world, and not all in the same era, but roughly to where they could connect through history.
Yeah, a lot of characters are repeating because a lot of them are like a couple years after. Like one of them is way in the past, but most of them are like 20 years later, 10 years later. Like so, you get a lot of the same characters. You see a lot of them because a lot of them are mercenaries, so they'll be in your other army and stuff. It's pretty cool. So, but yeah, you can. Can't you get this, David, on the PSN?
You can, yeah.
Yep.
It's $10, and you can definitely get it for your PS3, Vita, or PSP.
And I know a lot of places just recently wrote a big article about these games. Like I think IGN and stuff had one on there because they were talking about when it got re-released. It was a big. Everyone was begging for it on there, and when it got re-released, there's reasons why. Like they gave reasons to play it again and stuff. Why you want to play this game? Why you missed one of the best RPGs that have come out in the last 20 years and stuff. So it's pretty popular among a lot of the editors and stuff too, and the writers that like RPGs.
Cool.
Well, cool. Let's reveal what
Our
is
number two? Final Fantasy Tactics.
Now, before I know a lot of people want to say stuff, but let me just say this real quick: is 2 and 1 we're pretty high up on almost everyone's list. So, I don't know if someone's gonna be disappointed that Tactics is number 2 instead of 1, but 1 and 2 were like neck and neck.
Neck and neck.
And 1, even from outside of our group, just people, our friends, also is pretty high anyway. So once we reveal it, it should make sense. But yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics is second on our list.
It was second on my personal list. I knew that.
Yeah.
Well, tell us what you know about it, Jason.
Yes, sir, Jason.
So Tactics was probably like a lot of people my first tactical RPG. I think Ogre Tactics predated it by a little bit. It's really good. To be honest, I really enjoyed it because I don't know how many people here come from a background beyond video gaming, but it's a lot like D&D. The way it is with the strategy of moving your guys and casting spells and all that. It had a very tabletop RPG feel to it. So that was always very enjoyable. I also loved the fact that you could recruit monsters. That's the coolest thing to me. Having a red chocobo to cast Meteor Storm is just pretty fun. The only downside that I say to it, I have one small criticism. It's not even necessarily a criticism, but you spend all this time crafting your perfect party, but so often the characters that you recruit are way better than the characters that you can just forge. That a lot of times the characters that you built up, you're like, man, I'd rather just go recruit this other guy and then level him up, because the ones that you're just the regular Joe Schmo guy you get is nowhere near. He doesn't have the cool special abilities and whatnot. So
yeah, I 100% made a party out of just my friends and named the characters.
Yeah, that's the fun thing to do.
Well, and don't get me wrong, you can craft really amazing characters, and there's really cool stuff. But I just thought it was crazy because Reese is way better than a lot of characters you're gonna get, and the Machinist is amazing, and there's just a lot of the named characters are just better than the characters ones.
Yeah, and I gotta say, this is the Final Fantasy Tactics. David, can you switch the video when you get a chance?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I love watching Suki too. Don't get me wrong.
No, I wasn't mesmerized by it.
I was just behind from adding everything else. So.
No, it's cool, man. This is Final Fantasy Tactics was the first tactical RPG I played, and I know there were some that predated it, like Shining Force, Fire Emblem, things like that.
Ogre Tactics.
Tactics Ogre.
Tactics Ogre. Sorry, it's very similar. If you're
they're made by the same people, basically. So
yeah, Nakona could definitely tell you all about the similarities. But yeah, this introduced me to this style of RPG, and I just fell in love with that kind of game. The depth. This is we talked about Vagrant Story. That was our number 10 game. This game takes place in Ivalice. This was the first game to start that universe, and so it's very political kind of story. Again, two big warring factions, and you see how all the characters' personal stories are affected by it and things like that.
The one thing I like about this game too is I'm a big I have always been, even tabletop video games. It doesn't matter what it is. A big proponent of variety, I guess. And there's so many classes in this game. It's
Oh yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
Game
this
has
game you can
so
basically make
much-
your thief be able to cast white magic
Yeah.
that can dual wield weapons from a ninja and can move as good as well as a samurai or
Just-
jump as high as a dragoon. Like you can
It's
make it.
super versatile. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I
It-
like that about it.
It's really amazing. It's really
Yeah, it's great. And the thing about this game is like this is kind of like the one game I can remember recently. I never had problem grinding, but this game like I was like rather grinding than doing anything else. Like I just want to level up, get different abilities, get like leveled up for all my characters, and like I would find ways of grinding faster by like just throwing potions at each other and hitting each other and stuff, so I could just get as much skill points as I can. It was like I said, I would sit there when I finished like the first couple chapters, I just level my guys up and just
the best way to do
grind
that
for
is
hours. What's
get a
that?
squire, learn focus. Just
Oh yeah,
sit there.
focus.
Yes.
Well, I would just throw rocks at my guys. I'd like have my one guy throw a rock at somebody, and then hopefully I wouldn't fall off a cliff or something. Otherwise, like, God damn, he's dead.
It had
But
a really sorry.
no, go on. What's up?
I was just gonna say for anyone listening, the reason why it had a very odd way of gaining XP. You didn't gain XP by killing bad guys or anything like that. You gained XP by the more stuff you did. So if you set up a fight right, you could just like leave one guy alive over in the corner and like just like barricade him in the corner, and the rest of your guys just go around like using their skills, and you level
or
up.
keep throwing a rock at your monk's head or something.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Experience for it.
Or
Big,
you could
big rock fights in those games all
you
the
could
time.
corner a yellow chocobo. I've done this where he can't get out, and he'll just keep healing. He'll AOE heal. And
Yeah.
heal you, and he'll heal himself and your guys. And your guys just keep hitting him, and you all gain XP. It's amazing.
I think the cool thing about this game was when is that your character you invest all this time in characters, and then if one dies, you're pissed off because you
Oh yeah.
You reset
yeah.
the
They
game.
die
Is
for
what you
good.
do.
So much time invested in those characters. Like, there's no way. Fire Emblem's always like, your character dies forever. I'm like, man, if my guy dies in tactics, like, I'm gonna just never play this game again because I cannot lose that character for the 30 hours I
It's
spent.
so
leveling-
hard.
or when the game trolls you, like they like go out of their way to kill one of your guys when it doesn't even help them. Like they just open themselves up to huge attack, but they just kill when you're like, really? You're gonna die now. You could have ran out. All right, sure.
Well, one of my things I stopped doing because this always happened. Like, you level up someone's speed, like you just kept raising it, and then somehow they died, and they just instantly died because it takes a certain amount of turns till they die
Yeah.
for permanently. But they're so fast, they just instantly die. I'm like, oh god. It's like I should. So I was like, I gotta stop doing that. But yeah, it's the permadeath in this game it's brutal. But like you said, you just restart it. Like, after you level up enough, it's like the story missions don't become a really big problem. It's just, you can be in the forest and random encounter. Oh god, there's 12 ninjas. Oh my god, and they just destroy you. I'm like, oh man, this isn't good.
Or you'll be like even early on, first map, right? You'll be going around trying to grind out some levels, like you say, and you'll hit a random map. It's like 6 chocobos, and you're like, what
Yes.
the
Like,
hell?
oh, please, no. Yeah, and it's funny to mention about this game, which is I kind of think you're talking about Suikoden 2. It's like they're talking about how a lot of people compare to Game of Thrones. I think this game is the more comparable because it's got like your siblings are like against you. There's like, but you don't know that like your best friend is like possibly with you. You don't really know the allegiance lie on these characters because like everyone's so shady and
This game
like
This game teaches you all NPCs will betray you.
yes, oh man, like even your main guy at one point betrays somebody. Like you don't even know until later. It's like, whoa, this is like the way they introduce a lot of the subplots and the stuff that happens like in the past. Like because the game starts off with basically a flashback as a kid and all the stuff that happens to like which is weird. The thing about tactics is like the main character is not really like the well-known character. Like when they talk about the history of the world of this game, it's the guy that is your best friend who you're basically kind of following around the whole game, and he's like the main character of the story. But you're playing as this other dude who's part of this other family, and it's kind of weird how the story is like it's all this everything's the plots around the other guy, and your guys is kind of like the in the shadows doing all the dirty work. It sounds like all the the church busting and all the killing fighting the big battles, but no one knows about you because you're not important. Which is pretty cool. I like how they do that a lot. So, because all the plots were basically on the other character, which I thought was really cool. So,
yeah, it's also I'd like to point out Cloud makes a guest appearance in this game,
Yeah, it sure does.
Forever to get him.
and when you get him, he's like level 2 and
He's level
worthless.
1.
Level 1,
and
you gotta go spend like 8 hours leveling him up. It's bad, and
Oh,
you have to
but
get
it's-
his one sword to even.
I was about
use
to say
his
you have
attacks.
to get his sword before he's
And-
even that good.
Do you remember how to get that sword? You have to like find it on a random spot in the map with a certain skill on you. It's like
Yeah, you go to a forest to get it. You
It's
have
so
to have a
crazy.
strategy guide. There's no
Yeah,
other way.
that was there to sell guides for sure.
Yeah.
Well, did you
Because then if I get them, it's like, oh man, I should have never even done this.
have any of y'all played the remake for the PSP?
Or
Absolutely.
It's
It's
amazing.
They fix a lot of the little stuff like that. It's a little bit better in some places. There's some
they
stuff,
fix a lot.
Yeah.
and they added
It's the better version by far.
The translation,
It's amazing.
like it. I was never like it, I didn't think it was horrible on the PlayStation. I mean, I know it had a lot of issues, but after playing the PSP one, like that is some of the best game dialogue I've ever read.
It's
also
it's
the
Because you never thought of it
videos.
twice because of the PS1. You're like, what? What are they even saying right now? And it's like, oh, the PSP version's like, this is how it's supposed to be written. All right.
Yeah.
That's also a good point. The PSP version added these videos that I don't think were in the original PlayStation one. They're like
Oh, the
right.
cutscene?
cool. Yeah, they're like these cool FMVs, but they're like done with like a filter
canvas.
on them.
Yeah.
And they're like painted. They look really amazing, and they set the tone of the game like perfectly. It's a really, really nice addition for a remake to do that. It's just really beautiful.
They
Absolutely.
added voice acting those, and they're really, really well done.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, it's like $10 on PSN, I think.
Yep.
Worth every penny of it.
Yeah,
And then you can also get on your iPhone and Android for like $15.
Yeah, the thing about the Final Fantasy games is they've made it like available everywhere. You get on your handheld device, like on your phone these days. There's actually a lot of them on PC nowadays too. I don't think Tactics is out yet, but
no, it is on mobile.
yeah, but it is on mobile. So
One last thing, just to kind of point like what Ron said about 7 having really good world building, and to kind of Matt mentioned this. This takes place in the same world, I guess, as 12 and Vanguard Story.
Vagrant Story, yeah.
Vagrant Story, and this game has lots of like little hints. Like there's a robot you get at one point, and there's a machinist. He's all like an archaeologist, all pulling up, and so there's lots of like little hints about the greater world in this one that I personally really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that where like you'll see stuff like the machinist talks about, oh, guns are from a time when like airships ruled the skies and stuff like that. So there's these little hints there, and I haven't played any of the other games set in the same world, but I really enjoyed how those little hints there that kind of sort of hinted at a larger world and a larger storyline there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's what that guy did so well, is the world building. And closing remarks for me, and you know, I'm going to say this about every game on this list, but this is absolutely one of my most favorite game soundtracks.
It's so good
of all time. Like
So
it's what makes this game so easy to play for 70 hours on end. Like it just keeps you engrossed the whole way.
The composer that did this did a lot of stuff. This is, I think, is his best game he did. He did a lot of great stuff too. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's saying a lot too.
Oh,
yeah, because he did other Final Fantasy games in the main series as well. So I mean, he's done a lot of stuff, but this is his best one. So
Brilliant game.
Yep.
All right,
boys.
drum roll.
Yeah,
Here we go.
we're gonna go with our number one.
That number one.
oh man, who wants to reveal it though? Who could it be? Would it be maybe what's on my shirt right here? Is that what it is? Oh,
Is it amazing?
If anybody can see your shirt, sure.
We can't see your shirt.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
a
we
robot
should change it
of
to
some
the
kind.
video. Change
yeah,
it to the
it's-
video.
Yeah, just change the video, yes, because it's.
Is that what
It's
I'm gonna do
floating.
for the reveal? Video switch. Sweet
Yeah, it's-
video switch.
I just want to see the video of the game so we can be like, oh, it's.
It's a super good one.
Chris, be our hype man for number one.
Hype it up, Chris.
Number one is amazing.
Oh, there it is. There we go. Here we go. Oh, look, it's one of the best dungeons in the whole game. See how funny.
Well, Matt picked it.
So our number one game is Xenogears,
Yep.
and
Who
the
else-
reason being is it's amazing.
And that's it.
It's
That's
amazing.
it. We're done. Bye.
Done.
Mic drop.
Boom. It's literally you can
Oh my
lose
gosh,
your life.
this man is cheating though. This guy playing this game.
Yeah, we're watching a cheater right now.
How's he
Definitely
cheating?
Look, everything's
Level
999.
24, 999 HP.
Yeah.
But the game is amazing. The story's amazing. The combat's amazing. Everything, you get super big robots. Who doesn't like big fighting robots? It's everything you can ask for in an RPG. And there's so many plot twists. The main character is awesome, which you find out that he's
Fucked
somebody else, and he's literally fucking thrown off. He is crazy as shit, but
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Let me just mention this real quick. It's funny because we all made a list on our own, and then we all pulled together. And the people that made that had 10 on their list, all of us chose this game without speaking to each other about. It's like, wow, because this game that's how good it is. Like, it's unspoken. Anyone that played this game, it's like, oh, automatically, it's like it's probably your favorite game on the system.
So
if not one of your favorite games like ever.
I've never played this game, but Dave and I have a friend who's been telling us about this game since forever. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I bought it for $3 last week. So
Well, if you trust anybody, you can trust Charlie.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Hey, I got it right here, bro.
You got the game.
Yeah, you can see it. You probably can't see it until you look it on the stream, but I got it.
So this game is
There it is.
Nice.
And look at that sweet box art.
still so
Oh,
good.
by the way,
So-
that was still $50 when I bought it used.
And
Look at that.
and it's
Oh
worth
my God.
every penny.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that hair.
So,
the game
someone
does
talk
start
the
on the game starts on the biggest cliche. It's a guy that loses his memory.
I've never played that JRPG.
I've never played
before.
that game at all.
But an hour into the game, a giant robot shows up and he gets inside of it.
And then he
Pretty sure I've
loses-
seen this anime.
he does get in a super big robot and loses his stuff. And like I said,
I know we're making jokes out of it, like this game is about as JRPGs get,
yeah.
but in the best way.
Yeah. Well, so basically, this game. Okay, the cast of characters are all great. There's one character that I can specifically say that is useless, and I can't stand them. But everybody else in that game is just so awesome. It's like essentially the case of the game. I just wish I don't know why they exist, but everyone else in the game is they're all great. They all have really good backstories. And the thing about this game, they explore all their backstories real thoroughly. It's kind of known for its dialogue. There's maybe a little too much of it, but again, the characters, like right when you meet them, typically you get to find out all about them, like all their motivations, all that good stuff. Because they don't want to waste time with these characters. Like, oh, they're in your party, cool. It's like you want to know why they're there, and they all have a reason to be in there. They're not like some guy like, oh, I'm good with these guns. I have a gear. I'm just gonna be in your party. It's like you usually have to go through whatever they're doing, whatever their current situation is. You get to go through all that stuff before you make them playable forever.
The robots are called gears, by the way.
Oh,
Just want to say that.
And
Man.
the story has a lot of it deals with science fiction, obviously with the robots, the gears. I'm sorry. There's religion in it. There's a lot of religious overtones on it, and there's a lot of because reincarnation stuff like that in the game. And there's also there's a lot of psychology in it too. There's a lot of Sigmund Freud. Shout outs to him. A lot of stuff. The main character is really personifies the id, super id, and the ego. Or id, super ego, and super ego, or ego and super ego. Yeah. All those those characters, all the personifications of that. They're all in that too, which is really interesting how they worked that with the characters, but mainly the main guy. But the character, the composer for this game, he did Chrono Trigger's music and Chrono Cross, and I think this is probably his best game, if not his second best game in terms of what he's done music wise. And that's saying a lot. Those games are, Chrono Cross has got, it's one of the best soundtracks of any game ever, and this game I think is really close, if not better. So that's saying a lot of it as well. But the world's engaging. There's two warring countries. Yeah, surprise. That's real unique, but. It's the way they do it. Like I said, it's kind of like the subplot. The main plot of the game is the character. Like you're kind of like helping him out, finding his backstory and stuff, and why he's crazy. But the battle system kind of, if you notice, like watching the video at all, like it's kind of combo based. You can create your own combos with it, and you learn like special abilities, basically, kind of by exploring the combos. Like you press triangle, X squared does a special attack, and then triangle, square, or whatever. Like they'll, you basically kind of work with it and try it out, and then you get special combos, and then you do your special attacks like that, which is pretty cool. And then the gears are kind of have a similar fighting system as well. But so the combat side is pretty.
What's up with these aborted bird fetuses?
Yeah, it's got some weird enemy designs.
Yeah.
This is a weird one to choose, but yeah, it's these monsters. The boss in this area is really bizarre. If they get to that one.
It's in this video later. But David, that second video has some of the gear combat in it, actually.
Now, Nakona told me one thing when we had our pre-podcast huddle about this that surprised me. Like I said, my friends have been telling me this game for a long time. It's a JRPG, and I knew it was kind of a big JRPG. But Nakono, you're saying how long compared to like other games? This game's quite a bit longer than like most of the games on this list, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I clocked in. I think about 75, 80 hours, and that's without doing any side quests.
Wow.
I ended up doing stuff, but
It's like a streamlined run, right?
I mean, this game is pretty linear. I mean, there's not much there, and there's very little of any grinding I did. I don't know if grinding that because like I still have my first file on my PlayStation memory card. That's like very sacred to me. I'd never delete it, but I think I got like 89 hours on it, and I did all the stuff in it. So I think it's probably about 75 hours to finish like everything in it, and but it was I never once in that game. I mean, I know people these days may find some of the parts a little dragging on, like some of the dialogue gets a little long. Because I don't know if you know, but this game basically wasn't finished. Like they kind of had to wrap it up real fast. So the second disc ends up being a ton of dialogue because all the stuff they wanted to add in it, they basically just kind of gave you walls of dialogue of what was happening, and then you did the dungeon instead of like kind of the stuff in between because this game was on a budget and they had to release it real quickly. So it's kind of a shame they never even finished it. But I mean, even so, with that stuff kind of holding it back, this game was just. It never felt boring. Like all the stuff that happened in the game, all the dungeons you were in, like they spread everything out so well with the dialogue and the character building that it just never felt like it was a drag. Like I just got through it so fast. Like I remember I got it for Christmas one year, and I remember my parents were like, "Let's go out for New Year's and let's watch fireworks." I'm like, "Mom, I have to play Xenogears right now. Please leave me alone." I just wanted to do that nonstop. And yeah, I remember like I was just praying I finished it before school, and I didn't get it done before then because it was so long, but. I forgot even what else I got that year. I didn't care because all I wanted was Xenogears. But yeah, but even still, like I never felt like 80 hours. Like said Jason, I know it's long and it sounds really tedious, like the way how long any game these days, like that's Skyrim length. I mean, Skyrim you're just running around doing. There's a lot more action in that game than this type of game, but it's worth playing because, like I said, the stories it floored me both times I played through. I just couldn't believe, and I miss some of the stuff because there's so much to it, but. I went through it twice throughout, of course, a couple different years, but I caught so much more stuff. Like watching a movie again, you like a lot, you kind of catch all those subtlety stuff in it. But it's worth playing more than once. But I mean, hell, playing it once is still worth it. I think anyone should do it that likes RPGs. I mean, it does look a little dated, like the art style kind of makes it look a little. I don't know, the 2D's a little rough around the edges, but I mean, once you kind of get into the game and start it, like you won't even care about that stuff. Like the story's so good.
I have one
good.
question.
Yes.
What's up?
What is, if any, how much connection is there between this and the other Xeno games? I know there's always supposed to be a sequel to this, but never happened. But I know there's some other Xeno games that are supposed to be kind of
There's
in the same,
no connection whatsoever.
same sort of thing. Nothing at all?
I mean, it's loose. Actually, the Xeno Saga series on PS2, it was all supposed to be related to this game, but Squaresoft retained the rights to this, so he couldn't actually make a direct connection to throughout the series. But there is actually one big story element that you see overlap between this game and the Xenosaga series, which is on PS2. There's something called the Zohar. Is that it, Nakona?
Yeah,
Zohar?
that's Zohar.
It's like this big mythical artifact that floats in space. And that is in both Xenogears and Xenosaga. But that's probably the biggest connection, besides the fact they take place in completely different eras of that universe, if you even want to say they're connected.
There's a lot of references though, because one of the characters have the same last name. They look the exact same as one of the characters in your party in Xenogears too. So
yeah, references for sure, and I mean the themes overall very similar between all those.
Especially the first game, I think there's a lot of religious stuff in the first Xenosaga, which took a lot from Xenogears from that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've been told that there's so this game apparently has a lot of references to Hebrew mythology, which
Yes.
is also shared in Final Fantasy VII, and to be honest, was very big in Japanese pop culture at the time. Evangelion, and there was a couple other animes also shared. Like I don't know what it was, but apparently it was just a very popular thing to do, kind of in that the 90s was to incorporate Hebrew mythology into your anime or video game.
Yeah, and there's a dungeon called the Tower of Babel, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
And a city called Shivat. So a lot of Hebrew stuff in there. And crap, what was I going to say? Evangelion.
Yeah.
Frostfawn just said
Oh,
Ava.
so much Ava, yeah.
You're going to see a lot of parallels between this and Evangelion, mostly because of the religious similarities. It's not exact. I mean, the stories they diverge quite
Also,
a bit. But
Evangelion touches a bunch on human psychology with human specifically like child and adult relationships. So this having Freudian stuff in it and Hebrew mythology, there's going to be a lot of overlap there just from themes. Maybe not anything else, but
yeah,
And one of the gears looks just like the Gundam Wing gear. One of the Gundam Wing
Yeah, it
gears
does.
too. So it's like it's got a lot of anime kind of influences as well. So it's got a lot of good but they all chose good stuff to copy from. So that's good.
well, that's the mark of a good writer, right? Know who to steal from.
Real seamlessly. But it was never to the point where it's never bad. It's just like I said, it's a lot of similarities. But like I said, who's ever seen Eva that doesn't like it? Like it's just
right.
They chose all the good stuff from Eva to make it likable. But yeah, I mean, it's got all that stuff. Like I said, human psychology, science fiction, religion, reincarnation. I mean, it's crazy, but it's all so well done. Like, and they present it in such a good manner. Like, it's not in your face. It's pretty awesome. So
Yeah, I still feel like there has not been another game to this date that's as deep as this game.
yeah, well, story especially. Maybe the combat I think is still pretty deep as well. But the story, I mean, there's nothing even within its stratosphere of that game. Like, it's so unique. It's so deep. It's I don't know. Anyone who likes RPGs should play it, or anyone who wants a good story should play it too. They just gotta get through the rough grind, it's a long game. So
It is.
And you don't have to spend $50 and have a PlayStation to play it anymore. You can just spend 10.
Exactly.
yeah, you can have a PlayStation Network, but if you're a purist like David over there with his copy still, in his hand there, you got to have the PlayStation copy. It'll go for at least.
Pretty sure I
$50.
saw that in Shrink.
But it makes you feel any better. That's probably one of the lower rate. Like some of the games on this list were definitely in the triple digits. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but before they reprinted this on PS1, it was fetching some pretty high prices on eBay.
yeah, because it's like I said, if you talk to anybody who's played it, they're gonna say really good things about it.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
like our hype train over there, he's got it.
Hype train. Choo choo.
But yeah, I could talk about it forever. So I mean, to me, it's that's basically. I suggest anyone that's listening to this, anyone that knows anybody that likes role playing games, to suggest this game for them because it's complete. Even though it's not done, it was never done. It's still a complete game in every sense of the word. Like you'll never feel like you're missing out too much on that game. I think so. It's the best RPG I've played. The only game I like better than that is like Final Fantasy VI, and that's because it's so near and dear to my life. But
They get
everything else,
garbage.
calm down.
Oh man. All right, hold on. That's a different podcast, boys.
Yeah.
Okay. No fighting. No fighting.
But yeah,
Cool.
So,
That's our top 10, right, guys? We got it. We covered
Yep.
everything.
Yeah.
that's good.
Yep.
Sweet.
Lots
You
of
wanna
words
get-
on there.
You want to give a preview of what's coming up Wednesday, David?
What are we talking about?
The remake, dude.
Final Fantasy
Oh, we're
VII
not done to
remake.
do that now. Are you guys got to go to bed or something?
Yeah, we got to cut it off. I think.
All right, cool. Yeah, then we'll come back on Wednesday and we'll finish up with the remake at same time for you guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cool.
sounds good.
8:30. I guess guys, let me know. If we can do any better. I know the power outage, obviously, okay, but unless I buy a
Have better
generator, you know what, guys? Just for you guys, I'm gonna buy a generator. Hook all my shit up to it.
Yo,
That
get
way
this
if there's a
2-bit
power
operation
outage.
in shape, damn it.
Contingency plan.
Sorry about that, but hopefully we can do better next time. And obviously the YouTube will hopefully I can splice everything together and make it kind of fluid. For you guys later, we might also re-record Breath of Fire 3 because I did not get that. So.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Well, so we can just try to talk about it later again if you want to.
Yeah,
just
no
kind
problem.
of-
Just later, maybe after on Wednesday after we do the Final Fantasy thing.
Cool.
So,
Cool, guys.
Sounds
Well,
good.
thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday if you're gonna watch, and otherwise we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
It was awesome.